and we're here today with Jake Sithong, Ship Superintendent, Detyens Shipyard, to discuss how this shipyard definitely balances both commercial and military work. Jake, to start us off, why don't you provide us a bit of your personal and your professional background?
Well, I was born and raised Orlando, Florida, went to the Merchant Marine Academy in New York. Originally, I wanted to go to West Point in the United States Military Academy. My great-grandfather, he went to West Point and he served in World War II. That was my inspiration. And then actually I got into Kings Point first. And so I went with that and realized the opportunity of being in the maritime industry and how, incredible and how resourceful that would be to my career, not only as like in a leadership position in the military, but as well in the civilian lifestyle as well. So I like the option that Merchant Marine Academy gave me to be able to graduate and go into the maritime industry. So after school, I decided to do that. Moved down here to Charleston, and I actually worked, when I got my third mate license, I worked with Edison Schwest Offshore in Louisiana. Wasn't completely satisfied with my role there. I reached out to Detyens. They had a position starting with as a tugboat operator, which was exactly what I was doing anyways, maybe a little bit smaller of a push boat, but started here, and then I started working with the docking crew, actually physically building the blocks and laying out docking plans inside each of the dry docks for ships to come in and out. So I learned a lot on that behalf. And I actually didn't really find out about the ship superintendent role really until I was already here and working. I realized that that was something that I would absolutely enjoy doing just because I craved that leadership responsibility in that role. So when I transitioned and I reached out to the vice president, asked for the opportunity, and the opportunity came and he invited me in. I just, jumped in, put myself in the fire, and kind of went from there. So about 3 years now, ship superintendent, going on year 4, and then I've been with this company as a whole for about 4 years, going on year 5.
As a ship superintendent, what are your specific responsibilities? And ultimately, I guess you kind of gave a brief on it, but what was the impetus to make the move to a shoreside position?
So the ship superintendent starts correlated with management of the ship repair project when it comes in here at Detyens. Mainly work with a lot of scheduling, manpower, allocating resources, scheduling subcontractors, just making sure that all the items inside the contract when the ship comes that are being met in a timely manner and also in an efficient and productive manner. Of course, when you have to maintain schedule and make sure your man hours aren't going over a certain amount, there's a lot of time and process that goes into that, from simple things just from a morning meeting with your lead men, from actually going on the ship every single day and monitoring each job. It's your responsibility mainly to make sure each item in that work package is being met and also being completed, obviously in the most efficient and timely manner as possible. A big thing of transitioning shoreside for me with that was I didn't originally know exactly what I was going to do shoreside. I just knew that I didn't want to sail offshore with the company that I was with previously. I wasn't really fulfilled in a leadership position wise. I kind of craved that, especially coming out of school and having that background in the military and being a reserve officer. I felt like I needed more. And then now that I got presented the opportunity to be a ship superintendent and be in this position, I think it meets everything that I've always wanted in terms of a leadership position, because it can be overwhelming. You have possibly 100 to 200 people working under you that you have to manage and make sure that they're doing everything the right way, the safe way, and in an efficient way as well. So the big thing about that transition to shoreside now is I'm in this leadership position, and not only am I starting at a young age, which I'm absolutely blessed to be in, I'm also providing and building a resume that's going to help me in the future for future projects, working with potentially as a project manager one day.
Let's stick on that leadership thread for a moment, because I understand that you were recently tapped to stand in as a project manager on a foreign flag ship repair project with Sea Trade NL. Can you give us some specifics on that project?
So a lot of the roles that you have as ship superintendent obviously are still maintained as a project manager, except now you're dealing with pricing, estimating, subcontracting, everything involved that you had as a ship superintendent, you are now also responsible for as a project manager, but now you're handling the money side of things. And so that becomes an absolute challenge in itself, is just handling money, because there's a difference in business between management and also allocating money and being able to manage that as well. So you're using two tools of business right off the bat. So working the Juice Express, the project manager, was an awesome experience, to say the least. I mean, not only was I working with negotiation, pricing, terms, it was also, I'm the core and sole responsibility of scheduling and making sure that the ship is coming and getting out at the right time. And then that's working in direct correlation with the port engineer and his project management team. So everything that you do every single day is, every decision you make counts. It really does. And you feel definitely, I wouldn't say more pressure, but more responsibility in that sense as a project manager.
And I know that most watching this, most reading this, know the Detyens name well. But can you give us an update on the shipyard today, a discussion of the current and the future projected work in the yard?
Yeah, so Detyens as a whole, we have a really good balance usually of government contracts to commercial contracts. We have four dry docks actually, one's the floating dock. And we maintain a good balance of, we'll have, an MSC contract come in, and we'll have a couple commercials, maybe some smaller MSC project or government contract, I should say, not just MSC in our smaller docks. And then we also do, a bunch of tugboats, barges, stuff like that we could fit into our floating docks. And we maintain a really good balance of that. And as of currently, we have the USNS Kanawha and the USNS Arctic here, as well as a couple other, we had my ship, the Juice Express, and the Worn-Out Beluga. They were just in dry docks 1 and 2. So it's a good balance and a good mixture. They do a good job of, having us employees stay on their toes in terms of managing and project management.
And I know that balancing traditional commercial ship repair with government work is no easy task. What is the current commercial and government work balance today? And what do you see as the chief differentiators between some of the commercial and the government projects?
Yeah, so kind of going back to what I said earlier, the government projects, obviously they make up a good amount of our revenue in terms of commercial projects. The main difference between them is, government projects, they need to get stuff done, and this is what their package is. Whereas commercial projects we need to save the most amount of money and get out of here in the least possible time. So it's kind of funny how both work, because when working with both and the relationship that you have between them, you learn a lot of different kind of business tactics, especially on the government side with government contracts. It's very formal. Everything you have to do, condition report, contract change orders, and all that. Working, it's a little more informal on the commercial side, and you're a little more personal with just the port engineer. And it just becomes pure negotiation. But overall, Detyens, we have a really good balance right now. Like I said, I touched on earlier about the other current ships that are here. So, really, it's a revolving door of clients and who we win bids on. And us as a project management team, as a ship superintendent team as a whole, we're ready to tackle any project that comes. And it really doesn't matter, government or commercial, because we'll work either way. And we'll absolutely make the best and be the best person we can for that customer and that company. Also being fair, and then, working diligently and efficiently as well.
When you look at your tenure at Detyens to date, can you discuss one or two projects that you found to either be the most interesting or technically challenging, with insights on how the Detyens facilities, the processes, or the personnel help to make the job a success?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've had projects come in and leave pretty much on time. I've also had projects come in and stay 8 months. Like, for instance, the USNS Laramie, they came in with a 4-month, I think 120-day standard dry docking package, and they actually ended up staying for, I think it was 11 months. I had to work the entire project. My project manager who was working at that time, his wife ended up becoming ill, and I had to step in and pretty much run the entire thing. That was an experience to say the least, because that was actually one of my first superintendent jobs for a big government contract. So that whole learning curve almost was just being thrown into the fire, and okay, get the job done, be efficient with it, make sure, we're maintaining a good balance of spending money, saving money, also at the same time, pleasing the customer, because, MSC is a big client of ours, and we like to always maintain a good relationship with them. So that's a small example. Really specific one I can give you for the Juice Express, which the sea trade, tanker that came in. So they had a standard 10-day package. It was just 5-year, change the shaft seal, replace the blade seals, and then also range the anchor chains and gauge. And they also had a paint item, which they didn't really know what to do with yet, and they thought they were just going to get a shave and a haircut and leave for their underwater hull paint. But they came here and their entire anti-fouling coating system on the flat bottoms just failed. And so there's barnacles for probably 75% coverage of the ship. So not only did I not know what to do at first, but I had to figure it out because they needed to leave in 10 days. Their charter was in Tampa. They needed to be there on the 23rd at 8 a.m. So work started on the 11th. We needed to get them in and out of here. And the biggest challenge that I faced there was working with our subcontractors, obtaining a quote from them, making sure that they could do everything that was necessary. And then once I would get that quote, not only giving that quote to the port engineer, but also negotiating, because, you know, obviously they want to spend as least money as possible. So you really learn a different side of business as a project manager. And in that experience alone, you kind of grow and become it really molds you into an awesome business manager and leader in general, especially, you know, you become good at negotiating, which I hope one day I can plan to be. But the Juice Express in itself was an absolute learning curve, not only just from the project management side, but just, you know, being on your own for the first time. You know, you really have to be there 24/7, no matter what. So it's really it's a grind, and it's everything that I've wished for. It's everything that I've craved as a leader, and it's, you know, the perfect job for what I could have aspired for, especially out of school. I think I'm utilizing all my tools and resources that I've learned in the past, not only from the military, but from the maritime industry, my experience with them as well. And it really helps, and it really develops you. And you can only learn. I mean, every day is a new thing to learn. So you learn something new every day, is what they say. And it's an absolute truth when you're working here at Detyens. And it's couldn't be more blessed with the opportunity to work here. And obviously, thank you for the interview as well with this.
Okay, Jake. Well, again, I appreciate your time. It truly was a pleasure to meet, and I look forward to talking to you, you know, over the years, over your career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.